you need more financing, or you need leadership skills, or you need to do the inside work so you don't burn out. Those are all teachable and trainable and ways we can support. So that's the thinking behind EarthScale Ventures, that we can help bridge that valley of death for climate tech founders and help them remember they're not alone. They're part of a global network, and help them with, whatever the specifics are that they need. So we do that through accelerator programs and cohorts. We do that through founder funder dinners. We do that through connecting them to innovation hubs all over the world that are able to support the specific vertical that they're in. And then we have another project that's a part of it, which is there's all these amazing conferences around the world that most people don't have access to. Either they can't afford the ticket, they don't want to fly anymore and use that carbon, or it's a sold out conference and they weren't invited. So we're looking at how can we virtually share that knowledge and content to our founders, to our climate audience. So that's another piece of the puzzle.
That's a very interesting and something that we really need, the climate tech ventures really need, because there are so many beautiful conferences across the globe, and the prices are like really high, and plus connecting with the investors is something much needed, especially for the women entrepreneurs out here. Now, when you are talking about helping the solutions to scale, how would you decide that this particular solution can scale vis-a-vis this is like traditional and this cannot scale? So how do you make that difference?
So we have an assessment tool that we use, but essentially we are looking for founders, second-time founders that are revenue generating. They've already raised a pre-seed round, or they've already raised some money, found product market fit. They're coachable. They are collaborative over competitive. I mean, competition is fine, and we need it, but we want people that want to be part of a network of entrepreneurs, not lone wolves. More part of a living forest, and are ready and primed to scale. So that could be that they're in one geography, but they have interest in other geographies, and they need financial resources and locations elsewhere. So they need teams. They need to be able to run multiple teams at once. And right now, maybe they're leading, one team. So that's some of the criteria that we look for. And do they want our help? Do they want to be a part of this program and this platform?
That's very interesting. So do you all also offer online membership, digital membership?
We're exploring that. EarthScale's pretty new. So we've done one pilot cohort that was physically in the Bay Area, since that's where I am. So it was kind of the simplest to get off the ground. We will be having virtual cohorts. I think we haven't defined or finalized this, but I think our next cohort will be cross-border with Africa. So there's a lot of incredible climate tech coming out of Africa. Is lacking financial resources that we may be able to help provide from the Bay Area. And there's like so much innovation. There's so many like scrappy founders. So I also think investor money will be able to go further with some of these startups. So that's kind of what we're thinking about for our next cohort.
Excellent, excellent. Now, my next question to you is although I'm not discussed this earlier, so when you're providing this digital membership or cohort, what is the size of the cohort like?
The one that we did, the pilot, we invited 12 companies. This next one, it will be somewhere between that and 20. 20 is kind of our cap for this next cohort because we want to be able to provide like one breakthrough tool per month to the whole cohort, but then work one-on-one with each of the teams to actually implement it for their specific use case. So that's our capacity for this next group.
Excellent, excellent. And when you okay, so you provide them with investor support and market linkages, and this is what you would be providing the participants of the cohort. That's what I understand.
Mm-hmm.
That's very interesting. I can recommend few of them. And are there any selection criteria for that? Like, how do you select them?
So people will be able to apply. We are looking for companies that are revenue generating, second-time founders, or beyond. Those are the biggest criteria. But yeah, I can share the application like when it's ready.
Yeah.
And we will insist that people have skin in the game. So we'll offer scholarships and don't want to turn people away due to lack of funds, but also want people to know, like, if you don't have skin in the game, it's harder to value the product. So there will be a fee that will be made back with the sort of investor introductions and support.
Oh, excellent. Thank you. Thank you so much for providing the information on that. Now, Trellis Coworking represents more than shared office space that you've created out there. How important in the virtual times is it required to have a physical ecosystem in accelerating climate innovations?
That's a great question, Harsha. I really love that question. My take is that we have these incredible technologies like Zoom, like the internet, like AI, that they're very, very powerful. And we are designed as humans to be in person in a village of 150 people. So there's so much overwhelm and overstimulation, not to mention social media, doom scrolling, and like how bad that is for our psyche. But being in person gives you so much more access to support the people in your community. So last night we had Earth Commons, which is part of the Funding the Commons organization. and we had a festival or conference, and having everyone here in this space last night, um, the connections just like pop off so naturally and quickly, and the energy that it creates is it's visceral. You can feel it, and it's not impossible to get that in other ways, but it's a lot harder because we're not made for it. We're not really made for this, like looking at screens all the time and being connected around the world. And it's so cool, but it's also um, we're missing that kind of like in-person connectivity.
Yeah, totally, totally. I totally agree with you on that. Now, over the period of time, you've been running so many ventures and you've mentored so many people also. What have you learned about the community density and founder proximity in increasing the success rate of impact ventures?
I think it's everything. I don't have a like peer reviewed study, but I can tell you anecdotally. I had one member who was very like methodical and math oriented, who said, I am at least 50% more productive working from your co-working space than working from home. So that's like as close to a statistic as I've been able to get, because there are not large scale studies to say like, oh, like working from home versus working in a space. Um, I know for myself, when I'm home, and the reason that I got into co-working in the first place, when I'm home, I want to be home. I also am so distractible. I'm doing laundry. I'm washing dishes. I'm I really want to play video games or watch or like binge Netflix. Like there's so many things that are not my life's work when I'm home. When I'm here, where it's just the energy of creation and connection, and it doesn't take me, it take like I'm immediately in it. I'm immediately in my like my purpose, and I don't have to force it when I'm home, even though I love what I'm doing. And I feel so like this is such important work, and I'm so honored to be able to do it. When I'm at home, I want to read a book on the couch, drink some tea, have some wine. It's not conducive to productivity. And I don't want it to be either. I think it takes away from that sense of like home and comfort, to also be like, okay, I gotta grind. I can do this.
Yes, I totally, totally agree with you. Well, it gives you a mind space to work from a dedicated area, which is for climate change and innovation. So totally agree with you. Now, all the ventures that you have mentored and who have been your cohort, how do you all measure the impact, or do you all measure the impact? And if so, what are the metrics kind of that you may keep for each one of them different, or a generic metrics? How do you go about that?
So the pilot that we did, we asked each of the teams to, and then we co-developed with them, what is their primary objective to achieve. And then we measured, did they reach their objective? Were they close? Did they go in a different direction? Um, and that's what we did for the first cohort. I think there are a number of metrics that long term we will be interested in measuring. One will be that sort of basic question of, did you achieve your objective? But we'll also be looking at how much funding was raised, how much headcount was increased, how much follow-on capital came through connections that we introduced, and then the climate impacts of how much carbon did we draw down, how much. I mean, each cohort is different. So this cross-border with Africa, I don't know what the technologies will be that are coming out of that, but we're also looking at doing an oceans tech. So there will be also like climate specific metrics that we're looking at.
Okay, that's very interesting, and that gives a broader aspect. Now, over the period of time, what is the major issue that you have seen that people face or ventures face when either it is capital policy, climate policy, because that's another geopolitical issue now, talent, or just the ecosystem support, which is a big hurdle. So, what is the most common one according to you?
Over this last period, funding and the kind of geopolitical waves has been the biggest. So many cuts in funding, and so much like you can't really say you're aiming for diversity, which is crazy because that includes everyone. But that's like a bad word now. Climate is like a bad word now you can't use. So those are kind of like current struggles. But then it is very vertical specific. So like ocean tech faces a lot of challenges because it's underwater.
Yeah.
And that's really hard. It's hard to do things underwater. There's also very different regulatory bodies and regulations and laws depending on where you are in the world, how far off coast you are. So like seaweed farming, regulation is one of the biggest challenges for seaweed farming, but also processing, because it's a vegetable. So to keep it, like it goes bad quickly. So how do you either keep it cold or dry it? It's very seasonal. So if you're using a facility for 2 months, what do you do with it the rest of the year for it to be an efficient production facility?
Thank you for providing these insights. I have one last question from my side. We have audience questions also coming up now. See, in the times of AI, especially where every product can be replicated with a prompt, to be very honest. And so, what is the emphasis that the investors would give? Would it be technological innovation or would it be traction? Because nowadays, most of the things we can replicate most of the tech tools. uh, so what is it that they would really look into, uh, especially when it is a startup and it may not have that much of traction, but it may be a company which has a lot of traction, but not via a technology platform per se. So if you have to invest today in a startup which is not via technology platform but has enough traction, like has about 100,000 people working and paying it, vis-a-vis a tech startup which has some kind of a innovation, may have patent, may not have patent, what is it that you would bet on more as an investor?
Well, that's an interesting question. from where I'm sitting, I'm interested in what do I think is going to provide the most climate resilience. So it's not that important to me that it's a company that can make a lot of money. I want the company to make enough money to scale. But we're actually looking at a bunch of alternative investment vehicles, like purpose trusts, secondary markets, nonprofit venture studio. Because I think there's actually like venture capital is really important and can and should support about 2% of the companies that need large infusions of capital quickly and over time. But there's like 98% of companies that are actually not VC fundable. That's just like the shiny celebrity vehicle that people like that gets all the attention. But I'm really interested in not the unicorns, but the zebras, the companies that are like a 2x to 5x return, or the companies that are a long-term bet that we need like generations to grow them, more at like the speed of nature than at the speed of, um, a hurricane. uh, so that's kind of how I think about the companies that are most worth supporting. I think if I were only doing this for the money, I'd probably be in a different industry.
Yeah. I really appreciate the input on this. We have an audience question over here. Mr. Mudassir, would you like to switch on your camera and ask your question, or would you want me to do that?
Sure. I'm going to go ahead and ask the question directly. Hi, Rebecca. I've been following your work with EarthScale and Trellis. You popped up on my radar, and you have a very interesting background. I've been involved in the climate space as well, and particularly, I want to define the term climate sanctuary.
Mm.
Specifically, what does housing look like in the age of AI and the Anthropocene when we know human actions have an impact on housing and the suburbs are not sustainable at all? Hollywood has gone up in flames, quite literally, for the world to see. And what we're replacing it with is not sustainable either. So my question to you is, what does a climate sanctuary or a sanctuary suburb mean to you, and how?
Oh, what an interesting question. So we do a lot of work and events with the US Green Building Council. And a lot of research and development and startup and climate tech is coming out of the built environment. How do we have zero carbon concrete, and how do we build in ways that are sustainable? And there has been a lot of advancement in this area. Like San Francisco has regulation around no gas, no natural gas, which is really methane. I don't know why we call it natural gas. No methane in new construction. Electric only. I think there's a lot of opportunity for green roofs, water harvesting on the roof, rain gardens. Like, there's so many pieces of the puzzle that are coming together to support sustainable housing. But we're a long way. We're a long way from being there. I would love to see a climate sanctuary suburb that is uh, fire hardened, like home hardened, rain gardens. Like I have this kind of like vision for. This isn't exactly what you were asking, but like a 20 unit, 20 bungalows around like a central shared beautiful home with lots of gardens and solar. That's where I want to live.
So
What brings up that question?
I got the nomination in the Delaware Democratic Party platform for the term climate sanctuary when they were writing the platform as one of the climate mitigation events, and my own house happened to go up in flames at the intersection of Lake and Providence. Very much like viscerally identify with your fire alarm at 3 a.m. story, because that's kind of how, with a 4-year-old trying to run out of a burning building,
Oh
and
my goodness.
and then like fighting with insurance company to rebuild it, as well as being very, from an engineer perspective, I knew that I couldn't rebuild it as suburbia. I needed to build it as something more economic, green friendly. The thing that I didn't hear you mention is the animals. If you don't bring them back, the plants will always go up in flames because the animals are the ones that graze and fertilize. So think high school biology, if you don't bring back the animals to the suburbs, the plants will continue to go up in flames.
Yeah, that's a really good point. We worked with one of my members is the founder of the catastrophic wildfire prevention consortium.
The other thing, the central water around a set of bungalows and having a water feature in the center. I think you need to think about the village. The idea that go back to Dunbar's number of 150 to 300 as being the ideal group sizing for a village, and think of micro housing, think like shipping container stacking around a central water feature that provides the water for the village. In addition to the green roofs and the water harvesting.
Thank you for the question, Madhusir. Really appreciate it. We have Mr. Vinod who is asking another question. Vinod, would you like to switch on your camera?
Hi, thank you, Harsha. Sorry, I'm unable to switch on my camera. So I'll go ahead with the question. Thank you so much, and nice interacting with Rebecca. So my first question is this co-working ecosystem, does it have only companies from the climate tech space? Let us say if you have 20 companies in one co-working ecosystem, are they only climate tech companies?
No, they're not. We have a kind of climate core. That's about 20% of our members. But we want everyone. We have a lot of LGBTQ members. We have a lot of folks from the Filipino community. We have a lot of fempreneurs and women in business. And the thinking behind that is we don't want to silo. We want this to be a kind of porous membrane of companies, so that, you know, climate tech is next to AI, is next to nonprofit, is next to, so everybody can kind of cross-pollinate and learn from each other and learn different perspectives.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Thank you. Thank you, Vinod, for the question. Rebecca, it has been wonderful talking to you, and I'm very grateful to you for sharing all the insights and inputs that you have today in this session. And whenever the applications are ready, let us know. We would be very happy to promote it. And I hope the online and digital membership also expands to Asia, apart from Africa. You'll get a lot of people from our part of the world too. And lovely having you. We are there to support in any which ways that you may think fit.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this conversation and just getting a chance to talk about this stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.